Have your trials become heavier after turning toward Allah? You started praying more, you began leaving old sins, you asked Allah for a better life, yet everything suddenly became more difficult. Now you wonder what went wrong. But perhaps nothing went wrong. Perhaps Allah is preparing you. Some trials do not come to destroy you. They come to strengthen your faith. They remove weakness from your heart. They prepare you for greater responsibility. So do not judge this season too quickly. The signs you fear may carry hidden mercy. The delays may be building patience. The closed doors may be giving protection. And Allah may be preparing something greater than you can currently see. Have you noticed that your life never stays the same for long? One season brings peace, another brings hardship. One day your heart feels hopeful, the next day it feels overwhelmed. That constant change is not without purpose. Allah does not leave a believer in one condition forever. Many people think only hardship is a test. They forget that comfort is also a test. Ease can bring gratitude. It can also bring carelessness. Hardship can bring patience. It can also bring despair. Every season reveals what is truly inside the heart. That is why every season matters. Sometimes Allah gives more than you expected. Sometimes Allah takes away what you love. Both moments carry wisdom. Both moments are part of your journey. A believer should not become proud during ease. A believer should not lose hope during hardship. Every condition calls you back to Allah. Think about your own life. You have already lived through many different seasons. Some days brought unexpected happiness. Other days brought deep sadness. Yet every season changed you somehow. Every experience taught you something. Even the painful moments shaped the person you are today. The problem is that we only understand life while looking backward. We rarely understand it while living through it. During hardship, everything feels confusing. We ask why this is happening. We wonder when it will end. But later, we often discover that those difficult days protected us from something worse. Allah sees what you cannot see. Allah knows what tomorrow holds. Allah knows which blessing would help you. Allah also knows which blessing would harm you today. That is why Allah gives with wisdom. That is also why Allah delays with wisdom. Nothing happens without Allah's perfect knowledge. If your life feels uncertain today, do not rush to negative conclusions. Your changing circumstances do not mean Allah has abandoned you. They may be preparing your heart for something greater. Before Allah changes your future, Allah often changes you first. And that change usually begins during the seasons you wanted to escape. One of the hardest moments in life is losing what made you feel secure. A stable job suddenly ends. A trusted friend walks away. A long-awaited plan falls apart. You never expected those changes. Yet they happened anyway. That can leave your heart feeling lost. Our hearts naturally become attached to familiar things. We depend on routines. We trust our own plans. We feel safe when life stays predictable. But sometimes those comforts slowly replace our trust in Allah. We do not notice it happening. Allah always does. That is why Allah sometimes removes what feels comfortable. Not to punish you, not to break you, but to bring your heart back. Allah wants you to remember who truly controls your life. Every blessing comes from Allah. Every solution comes from Allah. Every door opens only by Allah's permission. Think about the moments that changed you most. They were probably not your easiest days. They were the days when nothing made sense. The days when you cried in private. The days when nobody understood your struggle. Those moments taught you lessons that comfort never could. Perhaps you are living through one of those moments today. You keep asking why everything is changing. You keep wondering why your plans keep failing. But maybe Allah is removing what you have outgrown. Maybe Allah is making room for something better. You cannot fill full hands with new blessings. Sometimes they must first become empty. This is where many people lose hope. They only see what disappeared. They never notice what Allah is building. While one door closes, another lesson begins. While one opportunity ends, your heart becomes stronger. While one chapter finishes, Allah prepares the next one with perfect wisdom. Do not mistake discomfort for abandonment. Allah never abandons sincere believers. Sometimes Allah removes temporary comfort to give lasting strength. Sometimes Allah delays a blessing because your heart is not ready yet. And sometimes the greatest mercy arrives after the greatest confusion. That is why trust must come before understanding. It is easy to worship when life feels peaceful. Your heart feels light. Your prayers come naturally. Hope fills every dua. Gratitude comes without much effort. Almost anyone can remain hopeful during those moments. The real test begins when life becomes difficult. Your prayers seem unanswered. Your heart feels exhausted. The future becomes uncertain. Yet you still stand for prayer. You still raise your hands in dua. You still believe Allah is listening. That is when faith becomes real. Allah is not only preparing your future, Allah is preparing your heart. A weak heart cannot carry great responsibility. A heart attached only to comfort will break during hardship. But a heart attached to Allah remains firm, even when everything else changes. That kind of faith is built over time. Think about your own journey. There were days when your only comfort was talking to Allah. Nobody understood your pain. Nobody knew your silent battles. But Allah knew every tear. Allah heard every whispered prayer. Those private moments were changing you more than you realized. Sometimes Allah allows the answers to come slowly. Not because Allah ignores your prayers. Not because Allah wants you to suffer. The waiting teaches something that immediate relief never could. It teaches reliance. It teaches sincerity. It teaches you to seek Allah before seeking the solution. Many people leave Allah when life becomes hard. Others move closer to Allah than ever before. The hardship is often the same. The difference is found inside the heart. One heart becomes bitter. Another heart becomes stronger. One complains constantly. The other continues trusting Allah without seeing the outcome. If your faith is being tested today, do not assume you are failing. Perhaps Allah is strengthening something inside you. Perhaps this season is teaching you to rely upon Allah alone. One day you may look back and realize that your greatest spiritual growth began during the days you wanted to escape. Many people think patience means waiting quietly. They believe patience is simply accepting pain. But patience is much deeper than that. It shapes every part of a believer's life. It changes how you think, speak, and respond. Real patience begins with obedience. You continue praying when your heart feels heavy. You keep reading the Quran when life becomes busy. You continue seeking forgiveness after every mistake. Your worship does not depend on your emotions, it depends on your commitment to Allah. That is true strength. The second test is often even harder. You walk away from what Allah has forbidden. Nobody is watching you. Nobody would know. Yet you choose Allah over your desires. You choose obedience over temporary pleasure. Those hidden decisions slowly build a sincere heart. Allah sees every private victory. Then comes the patience that most people recognize. Hardship enters your life without warning. You lose something precious. Your plans suddenly collapse. Your heart feels broken. Yet you refuse to lose hope in Allah. You continue believing that Allah's wisdom is greater than your understanding. that patience changes a believer forever. Every test gives you a choice. You can become bitter, or you can become better. You can complain every day, or you can continue trusting Allah. The trial may stay the same, but your response determines who you become. That is where real growth begins. Do not think your patience goes unnoticed. Allah sees every silent struggle. Allah knows every battle inside your heart. Even when nobody understands your pain, Allah understands it completely. Every difficult moment faced with faith raises your rank. Every sincere moment of patience brings you closer to Allah. So if your life feels difficult today, do not ask only when the trial will end. Also ask what Allah is teaching you through it. That question can change everything. The believer prepared for something greater is not shaped by comfort. The believer is shaped by patience that remains firm through every season. One day, something begins to change inside you. The things that once excited you lose their attraction. The places you once enjoyed no longer bring peace. Conversations that once felt normal now leave your heart uncomfortable. You cannot explain why. You only know something feels different. This is not because you think you are better than others. A sincere believer never looks down on people. Instead, the heart becomes more aware. It begins loving what brings Allah's pleasure. It begins avoiding what leads away from Allah. That change happens quietly, long before anyone else notices. You may even start feeling like a stranger. Friends no longer understand your choices. People question why you avoid certain gatherings. They wonder why your priorities have changed. Some may even laugh at your commitment. But not every path is meant to be crowded. Sometimes the road to Allah feels lonely. The world has a way of making everything seem normal. Wrong becomes acceptable. Sin becomes entertainment. People stop feeling guilty. They stop questioning their actions. But a heart that Allah is awakening cannot remain comfortable with what displeases Allah. That discomfort is not weakness, it is a blessing. Do not misunderstand this feeling. Allah is not asking you to isolate yourself from people. Islam teaches kindness, mercy, and good character. Continue treating everyone with respect. Continue showing patience and compassion. But never allow the pressure of people to pull you away from Allah. Every believer faces this moment sooner or later. There comes a time when pleasing Allah becomes more important than pleasing people. That decision is never easy. It may cost you friendships. It may cost you comfort. But it brings something far greater. It brings a heart that finds peace with Allah. So if you feel different today, do not become afraid. Do not think something is wrong with you. Perhaps Allah is changing your heart before changing your future. Perhaps Allah is teaching you to stand firm when others walk away. And perhaps this quiet change is one of the clearest signs that Allah is preparing you for something greater. Pain always changes a person. The only question is how. Some people allow pain to harden their hearts, others allow pain to bring them closer to Allah. The same hardship can produce two completely different lives. Everything depends on the direction of the heart. When a trial first arrives, you naturally search for answers. You ask why this happened. You wonder why Allah allowed it. Those questions are human, but over time, something begins to change. You stop asking only why. You begin asking what Allah wants you to learn. That question opens the door to wisdom. The believer who reflects grows through every hardship. Every disappointment teaches humility. Every delay teaches trust. Every loss reminds the heart that this world was never meant to last forever. Slowly, your priorities begin to change. You stop chasing everything that once seemed important. You begin chasing what will remain after this life ends. Many blessings cannot grow inside a comfortable heart. Compassion often grows after suffering. Mercy often grows after personal loss. Patience often grows after waiting. A person who has never struggled may understand words about hardship, but someone who has lived through hardship understands them with the heart. That understanding cannot be taught in a classroom. One day, you may meet someone carrying the same burden you once carried. They may feel hopeless. They may believe nobody understands them. Without even planning it, your own experience becomes a source of comfort. The pain you once wished would disappear becomes the reason someone else finds hope. Allah wastes nothing in a believer's life. This is one of Allah's beautiful ways. The wound does not simply disappear. Instead, Allah fills it with meaning. What once made you cry begins helping someone else smile again. What once felt like punishment becomes a source of mercy. Looking back, you realize the hardship was shaping your character long before you understood its purpose. If you are still carrying pain today, do not believe it has no value. Allah knows every struggle hidden inside your heart. Allah knows every silent tear that nobody else has seen. Continue turning back to Allah. Continue trusting Allah's wisdom. One day, you may discover that the very pain you feared was preparing you to become the person Allah always intended you to be. One day, you notice something unexpected. People begin sharing their struggles with you. They ask for advice. They trust you with their pain. You never tried to become that person, yet somehow they feel safe around you. That change rarely happens by accident. Often, Allah prepares a believer in private before using that believer in public. The lessons you learn through hardship become a source of benefit for others. Your patience becomes encouragement. Your mistakes become wisdom. Your journey becomes proof that Allah's mercy can reach anyone who sincerely returns. This does not mean you have all the answers. It does not mean you have become perfect. Every believer continues learning until the end of life. But Allah sometimes allows your experiences to become a light for someone walking through the same darkness. That is one of the greatest forms of service. Be careful when people begin respecting you. Praise can become a hidden test. The heart can slowly seek admiration instead of Allah's pleasure. A sincere believer remembers that every good quality comes from Allah. Every beneficial word is only possible because Allah allowed it. Without Allah's guidance, none of us could guide ourselves. When someone asks for your advice, answer with humility. If you know the answer from the Quran and the Sunnah, share it with kindness. If you do not know, admit it honestly. There is no shame in saying, I do not know. True sincerity values the truth more than appearing knowledgeable. Sometimes your greatest help is not a long speech. It is simply listening with compassion. It is making sincere dua for someone. It is reminding them that Allah has not forgotten them. Small acts of kindness often leave the deepest impact. Allah can place immense blessing in words spoken with sincerity. If people increasingly turn to you during difficult moments, do not see it as proof of your importance. See it as a responsibility. Allah may be preparing you to carry the concerns of others with wisdom and mercy. Protect your sincerity. Keep returning to Allah. The more Allah allows you to benefit people, the more you should humble yourself before Allah. There comes a time when your heart begins to change in a quiet way. You stop needing everyone's approval. You stop chasing recognition. You no longer measure your worth by people's praise. Something deeper begins to satisfy your heart. Earlier in life, it is easy to seek attention without noticing it. You hope others admire your success. You want people to recognize your efforts. You feel disappointed when nobody notices your sacrifices. Those feelings are common. But Allah gradually teaches a sincere believer to seek a greater reward. As your relationship with Allah grows stronger, your priorities begin to shift. You care more about Allah accepting your deeds than people praising them. A private act of worship becomes more precious than public recognition. A sincere dua becomes more valuable than 1,000 compliments. Your heart begins to understand that Allah's acceptance is enough. This does not happen overnight. The desire for praise can be very subtle. It can enter good deeds without being noticed. That is why believers constantly examine their intentions. Before speaking, they ask why they are speaking. Before acting, they ask who they are trying to please. Sincerity requires lifelong effort. Some of the most beloved deeds are the ones that nobody else knows about. A quiet charity, a tear shed during the night, a sincere prayer made for another believer, a hidden act of forgiveness. These moments may never receive applause on earth, but Allah sees every one of them completely. Ironically, the less you seek attention, the more peace you often experience. You stop carrying the heavy burden of pleasing everyone. You stop comparing your journey with others. Your value is no longer decided by opinions that constantly change. Instead, your heart finds stability in seeking Allah's pleasure alone. If you have noticed this change within yourself, protect it carefully. Continue doing good even when nobody thanks you. Continue serving others even when nobody notices. Continue worshiping Allah even when nobody is watching. A heart that seeks Allah instead of people's approval is being prepared for blessings that cannot be measured by this world. One of the clearest signs of spiritual growth is not doing more extraordinary deeds. It is becoming consistent with the ordinary ones. The 5 daily prayers no longer feel like interruptions. They become the moments that hold your day together. You begin arranging your life around worship instead of fitting worship around your life. Many people search for special experiences. They look for emotional moments that make them feel close to Allah. Those moments can be beautiful. But lasting faith is not built on feelings alone. It is built on consistency. The believer who protects the obligations is building a foundation that can survive every storm. You begin noticing something remarkable. Even when life becomes busy, your heart feels unsettled until you pray. Even when you are tired, you still make time for the obligations. Worship is no longer something you do only when convenient. It becomes something your heart cannot comfortably leave behind. That quiet consistency is a gift from Allah. The same change happens with the Quran. You may not read for hours every day, but you feel that something is missing when you stay away from Allah's words for too long. A few sincere moments with the Quran begin feeding your heart more than endless hours of distraction. You start seeking nourishment instead of entertainment. You also become quicker to seek forgiveness. Instead of defending every mistake, you turn back to Allah. Instead of allowing guilt to push you away, you let it pull you closer. You realize that every believer falls short. The difference is not who never sins. The difference is who sincerely returns to Allah again and again. These changes may seem small to other people. They may never notice your quiet acts of worship. But Allah sees every prayer offered with sincerity. Allah sees every moment you choose obedience over distraction. Those unseen choices slowly reshape your heart. They prepare you for responsibilities that cannot be carried without a strong connection to Allah. If your obligatory worship has become more precious to you than before, do not take that blessing lightly. Protect it with gratitude. Keep asking Allah to keep your heart firm. Great opportunities often come after quiet faithfulness. Before Allah entrusts a believer with greater blessings, Allah often teaches that believer to remain faithful in the duties already given. One sign that Allah is changing you is a softer heart. Things that never affected you before now make you stop and reflect. A verse from the Quran stays with you all day. A reminder brings tears to your eyes. A simple act of kindness touches your heart. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs that Allah is bringing your heart back to life. You also become more aware of your mistakes. You no longer ignore them. You ask Allah for forgiveness without delay. You feel uncomfortable after falling into sin. That discomfort is a mercy, because it keeps you returning to Allah instead of becoming comfortable with disobedience. At the same time, your heart becomes softer toward other people. You judge less. You make more dua for them. You remember that everyone is fighting a battle that others cannot see. Instead of feeling superior, you become more humble. The closer you come to Allah, the more you realize how much you still need Allah's mercy. Protect this softness. Do not let constant distractions harden your heart again. Stay close to the Quran. Guard your prayers. Remember Allah often. A soft heart receives guidance more easily. And a heart guided by Allah is one of the greatest blessings a believer can have. There is a peace that comes from having everything, then there is a peace that comes from trusting Allah. The second one is much stronger. It does not depend on perfect circumstances. It depends on a heart that knows Allah is always in control. You may still face problems, you may still carry worries, but you stop panicking as before. Instead of asking, why is this happening? You begin asking, how should I respond in a way that pleases Allah? That small change transforms your outlook. This calm is not created overnight. It grows through every test you survive with faith. Every hardship reminds you that Allah has never abandoned you before. Every answered dua reminds you that Allah's timing is always better than your own. If you have started feeling this quiet peace, be grateful. It is not something money can buy or people can give. It is a gift from Allah. And it often comes only after the heart has learned complete reliance upon Allah. Not every hardship is a punishment. Sometimes it is purification. Allah